Victoria 3, perhaps the Paradox title that keeps on proving its worth with every update. I am certain we all know and love this post-Napoleonic and late industrial time period the game offers, but what if we could go beyond that? What if, and you might not know this, Victoria 3 had a sprawling modding scene with incredible alternate campaigns, time periods, timelines, and other universes entirely? In this video, I'll be showing you the biggest and most impressive total conversion mods for Victoria 3 in no particular order. I've tried to compile a list of mods that are compatible with the latest version of the game, but if you find I've left any out, please let me know in the comments, and tell me which mod or mods on this list you find the most interesting. This is a special one indeed and took me a lot of time to put together, so if you enjoyed the video, it would be really helpful if you left a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Of course, neither history nor warfare ended with the Victorian period, and that's why today's sponsor is War Thunder, the largest vehicle combat game ever, which is now finally available for free on both PC, consoles, and mobile devices. War Thunder is a multiplayer game where you fight it out in massive battles in various historical periods, and thanks to the continued support of the devs, you can now take command of over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships of 10 major nations, all the way from the biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to the hyper-modern jets and battle tanks of today. The scope of War Thunder is insane, but the best part is how deep and true to life the game has become through the sheer passion of the dev team. War Thunder features an incredible intricate damage system where everything is calculated down to the individual components of your vehicle, like engines, weapons, fuel tanks, and the crew itself, where everything takes unique damage and impact, and reacts differently to the weapons that damage them in the first place. You can even use X-ray view to see exactly what happened the last time your vehicle was destroyed to witness the depth of this system firsthand and learn from it for next time. I think my favorite thing about War Thunder outside of its depth is that you actually don't have to be a hardcore simulation player if you don't want to. The game offers 3 different modes, namely Arcade, where matches are more fast-paced and easy to pick up, Simulator mode, where you really need to pay attention to the details for the ultimate challenge, and Realistic mode, that strikes a balance between the two if you prefer that middle ground. In addition, War Thunder is now available on mobile devices, featuring intuitive controls, awesome graphics, and that same massive multiplayer warfare in both ground and sea battles with air support, meaning you can play any way you want, anywhere you want. So grab your controller, mouse and keyboard or phone and join War Thunder's global community of over 95 million players for free in grand PvP battles today by using my links below in the pinned comment or video description. New and returning players on PC or consoles that haven't played in 6 months will also get a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. This offer is only available for a limited time, so make sure to claim them now. For total conversion mod number 1, we have Basileia Romaion 1736, a mod that takes us deep into an alternate timeline where the Roman empires never fell. And I say Roman empires because despite OG Rome being gone, both the Eastern Roman Empire and the Frankish-based Holy Roman Empire have survived, but perhaps not exactly as you envisioned. The Eastern Roman Empire is powerful but decadent. Its sphere of influence in the east sees it being the overlord over many kingdoms stretching from Tunisia in northern Africa to the Black Sea, but both separatist Orthodox realms and hostile rulers to the east in particular will force you to stay on your toes. Fascinatingly, the Romans were part of the colonization of America here, and an independent Roman Elysium now rules much of the east coast. The far to the south, in Mexico, rules a native Mesoamerican empire that might one day gather the strength to drive the European and Arab invaders out of their continent. Despite the Arabs and other Sunni Muslims not managing to break the Romans in Egypt, Palestine and Syria, they remain strong in both Arabia and Iberia, with Al-Andalus intact not just as a regional power but a colonial one. And further east, Persia remains a hegemon in Mesopotamia and beyond. With enough backing, perhaps the semi-independent Kurdish and Assyrian dominions could pose a threat to Persian stability should the Romans wish to end the perpetual struggle once and for all. In the West, the Catholic Holy Roman Empire stands strong, but is also fragmented into multiple principalities and protectorates of various kinds. Locked in a struggle with the Muslims in Al-Andalus, they must not only guard their southern border, but also be aware of the Protestant threats in Germany and the Nordics. And speaking of the North, the North Sea Empire, primarily ruled by the Danes, spanned Britain, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, and even North America, as the great colony of Vinland, administered by Norse settlers, seeks to claim riches from the New World. Sweden too is powerful, ruling over its own empire around the Baltic Sea. And in the Far East, China is divided, splintered between a grand coalition of Chinese realms and the Mongol invaders who still rule enormous territories in the north. It's of course not just the time period and setting that's changed, but so many nations have been given unique journal entries and other missions that bring a whole new set of flavor and gameplay scenarios to your campaigns. Expect hundreds of new nations, new laws, power blocks, over 400 new events, over 150 new journal entries, a start date that spans 300 years from 1736 to 2036, new goods, cultures, religions, government forms, and simply so much more. Basileia Romaion is one of the oldest Victoria 3 total conversion mods, with the first release being on October 26, 2022, and is a must-play for any lover of Victoria 3 and Roman-focused alternate history enthusiasts. Mod number 2 is something you probably never would have expected, namely the New Order for Victoria 3. TNO is originally a Hearts of Iron 4 mod, but it has been expertly crafted for Victoria 3 and looks absolutely beautiful and recognizable, but with one major caveat. It does look like, for all intents and purposes, that this mod is currently on ice, meaning it's not really being developed anymore, with the last official patch on Steam released on July 10th, 2025. Even though I am trying to add only mods that are compatible and still being worked on, I feel like I had to include this one, namely because it's just that cool, and I find that the transition from Hearts of Iron 4 has been done expertly. If you want to play the mod then, you actually have to roll back to game version 1.9 from August last year, which luckily can easily be done from the game's properties menu on Steam. TNO is a mod that takes place in an alternate post-World War II timeline, starting in 1962. This is a world where the Axis powers won the war, and where the United States of America leads the remaining democracies of the world through the Organization of Free Nations, a mainly Anglosphere-based power bloc. Germany leads the Einheitspact, splitting Europe between itself and the Italy-led Triumvirate, while Japan is ascendant in East Asia and the Pacific. TNO offers a dark world then, but that doesn't mean it's not interesting, and the team has competently translated Hoi 4's focus tree to Victoria 3's journal entries. The US, for example, must remain a democracy lest the country falters and enters a second American Civil War, but you can influence your country's direction through the funding of various cultural and industrial projects. Despite being a democracy, the country still suffers from rampant racism and Jim Crow laws, and as such, a journal entry focusing on the passing of the Civil Rights Act is in effect from the beginning. Japan struggles with corruption and a proxy war with the Americans in the South, while the Germans' dependence on slavery weakens its real economy. Sadly, while this looks like TNO, it definitely is not up to par with the original for Hearts of Iron 4. Journal entries and missions are lacking for most nations at the start other than the US, which likely was the team's first focus, and since there hasn't been a new update for the better part of a year, I fear for the mod's future. However, what's here is so promising that I had to give it a shout out, if nothing else to perhaps inspire the modders to pick it back up again. Mod number 3 is another post-war total conversion mod, namely Cold War 1950, a mod that takes place during the Cold War between the East and West. Like with other mods, journal entries and events are the main drivers of this mod, with the US beginning with an entire 33 of them, including ones related to post-war occupations, climate change and world tension, industry and business, politics and military, the CIA and bloc powers, and so much more. The Soviet Union begins with 17 entries, but here too we have potential entries that may become important down the line. More nations have unique systems and entries too, like France, West Germany, and more. The mod is still in a very early stage, so expect unfinished features or missing content and the like, but what's here is promising. I will say that I am hoping for a new paper map though, with both a new font and some new colors, because this North America is flatlining me. But yeah, if you're interested in the Cold War 1950 is it. Mod number 4 is Beyond Rice and Salt, a mod that takes place in an alternate 19th century that sees the realms of Islam and China ascendant. This is because the Black Death wiped out 99% of Europeans instead of a third. This means that Islamic and Chinese states have been able to pick up what they can, both in the old world and the new. The only Christian European states that remain are either in northern Britain, the Nordics, or North and Eastern Europe, while most of France, Germany, Italy, and the Balkans lie decentralized and without any real power. It's an extremely interesting concept and I can see the potential here, which is why I included it on the list. For now though, the lack of journal entries from the start, a new paper map, or obvious new events in the early game keep me from being as immersed as I would like, so I hope we'll see a lot more in terms of flavor from this mod in the future. Mod number 5 is probably one of the most famous original fantasy universe mods out there, especially in the Paradox universe, namely Anbennar, which originally released for EU4, but which since early October of last year has also been a Victoria 3 phenomenon. Anbennar takes place in a completely new world, spanning 3 main and major continents, a vast number of islands and other territories, and a completely new reality. Taking place in a D&D-like setting, Anbennar for Victoria 3 explores an industrial fantasy setting where magic meets the modern world. You can play as humans, elves, dwarves, halflings, and more, and as of now, the mod offers a fully playable foundation of the world. It is of course early days still, and the mod is not exactly where its EU4 equivalent is, but if you love both Victoria 3 as a game and Anbennar as a setting, you can jump in right now and have a great time. Just don't expect the same amount of journal entries, events and the like, which you would with a complete version of this mod, but the fact that the mod completely changes up the geography, races, and adds mechanics like spells is incredibly impressive. Mod number 6 is 1992 A Modern Day mod, a mod that takes place in 1992 onward and currently featuring historical events up until around 2006, but with some content going up until 2016. If you have played Millennium Dawn for Hearts of Iron 4, you might have some idea of what you'll find here, but to be honest, this is a very different mod than that. Less developed to be sure, but also focused around Victoria 3 systems, 1992 A Modern Day is much more suited to the development and economic side of grand strategy. The mod features a stunningly beautiful paper map that really suits the era, UN and European Union mechanics that expand as you play, unique events and special journal entries like the one the US begins with, the Iraq disarmament crisis. It also offers new UI visuals, new tech trees, and an interesting globalization mechanic based on trade volume. Of course, we have power blocks as well, or shall we say, a power block, NATO, which is currently the sole mover after the fall of the Soviet Union. It's a great proof of concept thus far and works as intended, but there's no doubt there's also a lot of room for expansion and features here, including fixing some major mistakes like calling the Prime Ministers of Norway and Sweden governors, and having the wrong name and gender, might I add, of the Prime Minister of Norway. I will say that more modern day mods like this one does suffer from Victoria 3's character portraits. Whether here, in TNO or wherever else, the portraits removes a lot from the immersion, something they don't do in games like Hearts of Iron 4, which is a 2D portrait based game. It would be awesome if 1992 could fix this somehow, because I think it would add a ton to the feeling of actually being in this era. Some appropriate era relevant music, and of course more journal entries would also be welcome. I am impressed with what's here though, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for 1992 A Modern Day mod. Mod number 7 is 1776 Age of Revolutions, a mod that takes the vanilla game 60 years back in time. We begin smack down in the middle of the American Revolution here, so if you're playing as either the 13 colonies, Great Britain, France or Spain, the future is up to you to decide. This is a mostly pre-industrial era now, meaning sound management can see you make great strides and leave your opponents behind. The main thing here is the time period and various political reality changes that brings, but some countries like America, Persia and Poland-Lithuania have already received new journal entries. The mod is very new at only 4 months old essentially, so if you're interested, check it out now or stay up to date with its development moving forward. Mod number 8 is Project Variety, a mod that completely changes up the entirety of the world, but instead of shattering it completely, creates a relatively plausible alternate timeline that sees a lot of countries on a relatively equal footing. Some are of course more equal than others though. The Eastern Roman Empire is singularly powerful, with the same going for countries like the Sassanid Empire or the Marinid Sultanate. But a country like France, or should I say the Court of Paris, is more than just its color suggests, as it is the overlord of many surrounding states. It's an interesting take on the world in 1836, and it somehow feels quite medieval thanks to the lack of truly large states. Something the mod itself cheekily suggests with Paris' initial journal entry, where you must centralize or be left in the past. And while the Sassanid Empire appears strong, it struggles with a clash between Islam and Zoroastrianism, possibly leading to internal decline and unrest. Project Variety adds a control mechanic that rewards players for playing tall, hundreds of new journal entries and events that occur over time, and is balanced for both fun single and multiplayer games. So if you're looking for a fresh new perspective on the game and the multiplayer scene, this is definitely one to check out. Mod number 9 is Realms of Exether, or Exether, an extremely impressive D&D based fantasy mod. The second one on this list actually, but the first of the two for Victoria 3. The mod features an entirely new map with all new races like elves, dwarves, dragons, naga, and gnolls, all with unique racial mechanics. One of the main aspects of the mod revolves around pursuing more magical steampunk technology or the arcane arts, and the mechanic is visualized in its own menu window. Many of the nations have their very own story background, as you can see before choosing them, and you'll have to face unique challenges, journal entries, and events in your campaigns. Despite still using the 3D models of Victoria, the new faces and races here are remarkably made, and in some cases look better than the vanilla or human counterparts, I think. I must admit that I'm a novice when it comes to this mod, but the love, dedication, and expertise is evident from the get-go, and if you want a deep, feature-rich, and varied fantasy campaign in Victoria 3, Realms of Exeter just might be your best bet. The last but absolutely not least mod on this list is 1913 The Gathering Storm, a mod that begins just a year before the outbreak of the First World War and allows you to approach the lead up to it with either historical or ahistorical decisions. This is the last years of truly great and globe-spanning empires and the end of a century-long and mostly peaceful state of affairs between the European great powers. The first thing you might notice though is the paper map, as it looks nearly identical to the map in Victoria 2, and I love that. But I think the true genius of this mod is its starting date. By beginning in 1913, you get a full year to play peaceful and to begin the build-up before the war begins, and to take in the politics and aspects of the era. You'll notice that while you typically begin the mod with few journal entries, many of them await in the future, and depending on your country of choice. While the Great War should probably be your first priority in terms of preparations, you can see that social political movements like communism and fascism will likely emerge to some level in time, battling for the soul of the nation. Things like the American movie industry, the Great Depression, women's suffrage and the temperance movement, researching fighter planes and tanks, the Irish question in Britain, Russia's backwards and stagnant feudal system, Japan's ambitions in China, this mod offers a ton of opportunities, yet remains rather quiet about them in the beginning. And that's a fun aspect of it actually. And because some of these features are locked behind certain dates, like the rise of fascism in Germany, which among other aspects cannot feature before the year 1923, the mod achieves in some respects quite a historical timeline. I'm sure you could even have a full-blown Second World War in this mod if you play your cards wrong. In other words, 1913 The Gathering Storm is an amazing total conversion mod that's well worth your time, especially if you'd like Victoria 3 with more active modern warfare, but with the intricate political and economic decision making the game does so well already. And that, my friends, were the best and biggest total conversion mods for Victoria 3. Let me know what you think of them in the comments, and do tell me if you agree with my choices or if there's some I've forgotten to mention entirely. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to play it for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile now by using my links in the pinned comment or description. New and returning players who haven't played for 6 months will get an amazing bonus pack across PC and console, including premium vehicles, in-game currency and more, so make sure to check out War Thunder right now. Thank you so much for watching, liking the video and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!